Good afternoon, happy Friday, TGIF. Hope everyone's having a great day. I meant to come on earlier today to talk with you all, but there were waves. I had to go surf. Hello, RI beer lover. And the day kind of got away from me. But the topic that I want to talk about with you today, I think is really important. So I hope that, so I wanted to get on here and make sure that I talk with you about it. We're going to be talking about why stress makes weight so easy to gain and why it makes it so tough to lose. So kind of looking at that relationship between stress and your weight. And before I go any further, so my name is Jen Costanza. I am an integrative nutrition health coach, and I specialize in helping women reverse the impacts of chronic stress and learn to manage stress so that it doesn't take such a toll on your body and your life. So stress leads to weight gain. This is probably something that you've heard about or you've read about, but maybe you're not so sure why that happens. You know, what is kind of like the mechanism by which stress turns into weight on your body. So we're going to be talking about that today. But first I want to just briefly say, why should you even care about this? And I'm going to give you kind of my perspective on this. So I just want to say first up, we're talking about weight, but this is not something about, diet culture that, you need to be a certain size in order to be, to be a valuable human being. I don't believe that at all. Rather, when we gain weight, and especially when it comes to the kind of weight we're talking about today, weight that is related to stress, that's gaining usually around our midsection. It's actually our body kind of signaling to us in a really obvious outward way that things aren't going so well inside. That, when it comes to conditions like type 2 diabetes, like cardiovascular disease, high blood pressure, these kinds of, big problems that, many people experience later in life, the first indication, or one of the first indications that we have that we might be developing something like that, is actually weight around the midsection. So I feel like it's really important to be addressing that and to be addressing the role that stress plays in that, because it might be something that you haven't thought of. You might be thinking, I need to eat less in order to lose weight. I need to eat more vegetables to lose weight. I need to, move daily in order to lose weight. And, eating the rainbow and moving daily, those are really important things to be engaging in, to be doing, right? Just in terms of having a healthy lifestyle and feeling good about yourself. But stress is also something that we need to think about, because it can take a super serious toll on our health. And like I said, it shows up in weight. So today we're going to talk about, really briefly, I'm going to explain what the stress response is. And by that, I mean, how does your body react when you are stressed out? And then we're going to look at 3 mechanisms by which stress kind of converts into weight, particularly around your midsection. So, and if you have any questions about this, definitely leave your question in the chat. And if you just joined, hi Drift Surf Shop on Instagram, leave me a heart and say hi. Okay, so understanding your stress response. And by the way, I have notes because I want to make sure that I cover everything and I don't forget anything to talk to you guys about. So first, I just want you to imagine, for me, kind of like a really stressful day, and imagine maybe this not too unlikely scenario. You wake up late, you have a harried morning, you're running late for an important meeting at work. You're on the road, somebody cuts you off, and now you're driving behind somebody who's driving really slow. You're getting even more late for work. You're getting more stressed as you realize how late you're becoming. Then you're kind of like getting out of your car, you end up spilling coffee on your shirt, your stress goes up even more. That's your morning. And then, maybe later in the day, you get a phone call from school, your kid needs to get picked up, something happened, you have to drop everything at work, you're going to school, you're picking up your kid, you get home, you realize, oh no, we don't have groceries, you don't have food, you need to go shopping. All of these kinds of things could be going on, right? That maybe don't feel really serious, but they add up and it creates a stressful day for us. Maybe by the end of a day like that, which for many of us might be kind of an average day, your stress is at like an 8 out of 10, right? Is this something that you have experienced? What are some like little things that kind of add up to stress in your day? If you're live or if you're watching the replay, leave me a comment and let me know. I think, like I said, for many women especially, this is kind of like normal everyday life, living in survival mode. And the thing is that none of these events, getting late, having to go shopping, realizing you have a million things to do, none of this is life-threatening, right? None of it is. None of it is an immediate threat in our life. Even the stress that you might feel from, for instance, if you are, and this is kind of an example of a chronic type of stress that many people feel, if you're taking care of someone who is sick, or if you are, for the past 2 years, if you're constantly stressed and worried about the pandemic, for instance, that for some people has been very life-threatening. The what's in front of you immediately is not life-threatening, right? You're not being chased by a lion, in other words, but your body doesn't care. When your body will react to stress in the same way, whether your stress is life-threatening, like you're about to get eaten by a lion, or it's not, you're just late for work, it's going to react in the same way. So what is that reaction? What is that thing that we call the stress response? So a lot of things can activate our body's stress response. And I'm not going to talk about them all today because some of them have to do with things like foods that we eat or chemicals that we might be exposed to in the air or in our home, right? But today we're just going to be talking about emotional or mental stress. When your body senses that you feel stress, your fight or flight response kicks in. That's basically our stress response, and you've probably heard that before, right? Fight or flight. Another term that you might have heard before is your sympathetic nervous system. Your sympathetic nervous system is kicking in, and the goal is to protect you from danger. And when that happens, a cascade of biological functions take place. And some of the major ones that happen is, first, your adrenal glands release cortisol and adrenaline, giving you a boost of energy so that you can, run away from that lion and escape and save your life. These words, adrenaline, cortisol, these hormones, that might feel familiar to you. You probably heard about that before. Hi, George. The second thing that can happen, your blood sugar spikes, sending extra energy to your extremities, your limbs, so that, again, you can run away from that lion, right? And at the same time, your pancreas is releasing insulin in order to counteract the high level of blood sugar, or the high level of sugar that's now in your bloodstream, right? So that happens. And a third thing that happens is that your digestion is going to come to a near halt, because as a rule, your body cannot rest and relax and digest at the same time as it's fighting and fleeing, from a lion. So, those two things can't happen at the same time. So that's, in a nutshell, what your body's stress response looks like. And it's actually a really brilliant system, because let's say that, when you do need to run away from a lion, if that ever happened to you, hopefully it didn't, but if you did, and this is something that would happen to our ancestors, Your body is biologically programmed to help you escape, right? We've all heard of those crazy stories when a human, has performed some incredible feat, like lifting a car off of someone's body when they were trapped. That's the stress response kicking in and giving you kind of like superhuman powers. Anyway, so it's a brilliant system that helps us, escape real life dangers. And even in our modern capitalist society, the stress response can sometimes be a good thing because, you might need extra energy and mental focus in order to, do a performance, for instance, or if you had to, give an important talk at work, give an important presentation at work, something like that. The stress response is going to kick in and help you make that happen. But chronic stress, this everyday continual stress that you might be experiencing at your job, at home, driving around, somebody's taking your parking spot, small kind of, small annoyances, or even kind of bigger things like if you are taking care of a loved one, for instance, who's sick. This kind of chronic, everyday, ongoing stress. And I think also it's fair to say that for many of us for the past 2 years, we have been experiencing this kind of stress, right? During this uncertain time during the pandemic, a lot of us have been experiencing chronic stress. This is the kind of stress that's not good for us. With chronic stress, your body is on a constant state of alert. And while if you really were being chased by a lion, you kind of use up all that energy running away from it. In the case of chronic stress, there's usually no release. There's no release of energy. And over time, you can become exhausted. You can, at the same time as you're exhausted, you might become sleep deprived because you can't sleep at night. And those things can obviously cause all kinds of practical problems in your life, making it hard for you to do the things that you need to do every day, and make you even more stressed out. And so it's kind of like this vicious cycle happening. So what does this all have to do with your weight? You might be wondering. So when it comes to the relationship between stress and your weight, we can kind of, I'm going to break it down into 3 main things that are going on in your body. So the first thing, and this might be the most obvious to you at first glance, is that when you're stressed out, you tend to make poor food choices. Let me ask you something. End of a hard day or end of a hard week, what kind of foods are you going for? Are you kind of having a craving for, a green smoothie? Are you having a craving for salad, veggie burgers, hummus? I'm going to guess the answer is no. I'm guessing that you're more likely having cravings for things like donuts, cake, muffins, chocolate, wine, other sorts of carb and sugar and fat-laden kind of treats, right? Hello, Trumaine. So it's no secret, stress is going to make you crave comfort foods that send you to your happy place. And I'll tell you a personal story. Back when I was in academia and teaching every day, I lived right next door to a Starbucks in Providence. And whenever I had the time, during my harried morning trying to get out the door to go to work, I would run over to Starbucks and get a venti vanilla latte. And that was kind of like one of my, it was kind of like a comfort to me. It helped make my morning just that little bit more bearable. Oh, Trumaine says she's guilty of stress eating. Yes. Who is not, right? Who does not do this at one time or another? Anyways, yeah, you're eating. You have kind of like comfort foods that you go for, and it kind of eases your mind and makes whatever it is that you're stressed out about just a little bit more bearable. So that's the first way that stress can lead to weight gain. But that said, maybe you're thinking, oh, why don't I have any willpower to make better food choices? If I just had the willpower, I could choose the smoothie instead of, the vanilla latte, or instead of the chocolate bar, right? But I have news for you. It's not just about willpower. And I would say that in many ways, it's mostly not about willpower. Because think about this, when you are stressed, your body is actually craving the kinds of foods that are going to give you quick energy to respond from a lion, to run away from a lion, right? And what kind of foods give your body super quick energy? Sugar, carbs, maybe some fat in there. So, that's why a candy bar, it feels perfect for that situation. So it's not just something going on in your mind, or only going on in your mind. It's, all over in your body. Your body is kind of telling you need these things. You need these kind of foods, these comfort foods, in order to escape that lion, even though there is no lion, right? So bottom line, when you're stressed, you're likely to regularly crave, especially if you're chronically stressed, you're likely to regularly crave those kinds of nutrient poor foods, let's call them. Second point, or second way that stress can convert into weight, is that the continuous activation of your body's stress response, this response we were just talking about, can lead your body to conserve fat. Or more like, maybe I can put it this way, to conserve calories, which then turn into fat. So basically, over time, every time we get stressed out, even if it's just these little bits of stress, like, oh, somebody took my parking space, right? Your body releases cortisol as part of its stress response. It releases cortisol into your bloodstream. And this leads most women to gain weight around the midsection. Think about it. Even though it's just a parking space, your body thinks that you're under attack. It's in emergency mode now, and it doesn't know when the emergency is going to stop. And so cortisol getting released, the effect that has, besides giving us energy, at least in the short term, is that it's telling your body to conserve calories for energy just in case you need to go after that lion. And those calories then, for the most part, get converted into fat. And it's mostly stored around our midsection, and particularly around, surrounding your internal organs inside your body. And what's really fascinating to me, and maybe you'll find this fascinating too, is that means that two people, one that really manages their stress very well, and another person who has, chronic stress and is stressed all the time and is not doing anything to manage it, those two people could eat the same meal and process it very differently in their body. So that fat that accumulates around, in your belly, it's called visceral fat. And the other thing is visceral fat secretes a hormone that tricks your brain into thinking that you're hungry, therefore convincing you to eat more. So this is another part of the reason why that belly fat can be really easy to gain and really tough to lose. It's kind of like you're working against the odds in this situation. Point number 3, or reason number 3 why, or the way that in which stress gets converted into fat in your body, is that chronic stress messes with your gut. So if you remember, during the stress response, your body puts all unnecessary or non-essential functions on hold, and that includes digestion. So in the short term, what impact could this have? Maybe you will just feel constipated in the short term. Over the long term, a host of digestive problems can unravel from this. It could be irritable bowel syndrome, leaky gut, which is also called intestinal permeability. It's basically, a breakdown of the intestinal lining. And the other thing is that, kind of related to this, is that chronic stress, it disrupts your microbiome. You might have heard this term microbiome thrown around like in the news and advertisements. It's kind of like becoming a fad now to talk about your microbiome, and you're probably seeing ads for probiotics, probiotic supplements in yogurt and in other foods and stuff like that. And so the thing is, your microbiome is basically, very briefly, it's the community of billions of bacteria that are living inside your gut. And one of the functions that they have is to help your body make use of nutrients that you get from the food that you're eating, and also in part to control your appetite. So when your microbiome, when the balance of different types of bacteria, like good bacterias and not so good bacterias in your microbiome get off or become unbalanced, it can lead to changes in your appetite, regardless of whether your body actually needs more food, and you might end up eating more and or making poor food choices. So that's 3 ways that stress can actually turn into weight on your body. What are you supposed to do with this? Well, one thing, like I said at the beginning of this live stream, is that if you do have belly fat, and most of us do, all you need to do in order to know if you have it is maybe like jump up and down. If something jiggles, you have it. If you have it, your body is telling you that something's not right? And if you want to try to lose that belly fat, your first instinct might be to eat better, to move daily. And those are really great things that we should all be doing. But oftentimes, even doing those things, the belly fat won't come off, or it won't come off completely, even over time. And this is where stress management strategies come in. So I hope that I've convinced you over this live stream that stress really can impact your weight. It can impact your health in many ways. And what we can do is learn some real strategies for managing our stress on a daily basis. And of course, those strategies, can be different for everybody. I'm not going to say everyone needs to meditate, because sometimes that doesn't work for some people, or maybe not at the stage you're at in your life. Meditation might not be the best thing for you right now, or you can't get it. But it doesn't have to be meditation. It could be, taking a walk. It could be journaling. It could be writing a gratitude journal. It could be yoga. There's so many different things that we can do to manage our stress on a daily basis, and just have it be part of our life, so that chronic stress doesn't turn into weight and into other health problems. So as I said at the beginning, I'm an integrative nutrition health coach, and I specifically work, specialize in working with women who are dealing with chronic stress and want to learn how to manage that stress, and also want to reverse some of the health impacts that it might have had on their body and on their life, whether it's weight or wanting to feel, more energy. So if this kind of describes you, if this is something that resonates with you, I want you to know that I offer a free 30-minute discovery session, a free consultation, a coaching session, where, our goal is to kind of get into the root of what are your health challenges, what are your goals, where do you want to be, what's keeping you from getting there, and we can explore if working together might help you to get into that better place. So if you're interested in taking advantage of that free 30-minute discovery session, just send me a direct message, either on Instagram or on Facebook, depending on where you're listening to this. And we'll take it from there. So that's all for today. I hope that you all have a beautiful weekend, and hopefully a stress-free weekend, and I'll talk to you next week. See ya.